those things that's really going to help down the road is just kind of mixing up the approaches and learning some of the different ways you can approach it, as far as kind of working a while on higher reps and a little lower weight but more reps, and kind of work into that exhaustion, and then coming back around and doing heavier weights and lower reps and kicking up that strength a little bit, and just the sort of diversity you can put into your workouts, so it doesn't feel like you're doing the exact same thing over and over and over and over.
Yeah.
You're feeling that. The other thing too is like feeling that sort of cycle of soreness, where it's like, okay, I'm brutally sore for, this week. Doesn't mean I overdid it, and that was always the concern. Like, you come out super sore and you feel like you overdid it, and you're like, oh shoot, I need to really scale it back. And it's just a better mindset of knowing, like, okay, nope, that soreness is part of the progress, and if you stick where you're at, it might be sore for a week or 2 or 3, but then it's going to start not being sore, and then you do that once or twice where it's not as sore, and then it's like, okay, now switch it up a little bit and go back to pushing up a little more and all that kind of stuff. So
it's always what progress and what improvements have you seen that you're proud of?
Oh yeah, for sure. And it's it's definitely been that journey of going from dragging myself and yes, I got to do this, I know I got to do this, but I'm kind of grumping and griping the whole way to, like, I'm really enjoying this and this is fun, and I look forward to it, like, especially the like the Tuesday workouts. Like, I'm already looking forward to that, because it's like I like getting in there, especially on so one, it's just that it's that mindset change, and making it feel less like work and more like enjoyment. But then also, just like I said, the stress levels, and just being able to tell the difference in when I'm stressed about work or stressed about stuff I got to do, like prepare for this move, and that it just feels like such a different level of stress when you don't also have the stress from the bad food you're putting in your body, and the stress from your body being worn out and weak and tired, and especially those supporting muscles and the things that don't do all that kind of stuff. So feeling that difference in stress levels is huge and very apparent. It's also about the stamina levels, being able to, like, today we'll get out, I started doing some packing before this call. I'll get off this call and probably be working on putting stuff in boxes and all that for the next 7 hours. And I got zero concerns about, whether I've got the stamina for that or the drive, any of that stuff, like versus, it used to be like, okay, maybe I could pull off an hour or 2 of work, and then I'd be like, I'm tired, I'm gonna go, lay down in front of the TV for 2 hours and recover.
So that, dude, I freaking but I really enjoy like the fact that you brought that up, where it was, the stronger my body is, the more resilient it is to the stress, and the more manageable the stress is going to be. By its ability to manage all the life stress that is going on. And that really, when your body can't do certain things, right, like, of course it's going to be more in it's, I'm gonna use depressed, right, not in the sense of like an emotional state, but more in the state of it's not active, it can't get excited to go do things, right? And if you can't go do things, then shit's gonna build up, right? Like, it's going to take longer for me to pack. It's going to get more difficult because I'm in a more fatigued state. I'm in a depressed state, right? And now I'm getting anxious because of all the shit that I got to do, right? Like, all that stuff builds up, and when things build up and we can't manage them, we avoid them, right? And so so just to hear that part, like I preach that so much to people. You just got to move your body. Like, as soon as you move your body, like, you can get more shit done than if you just stay down. And so,
I mean, there's a hell of a lot to do, and it just I think you're absolutely right. Depressed is a great term for it. I know that's hard to use sometimes because it's got a bunch of connotations that you don't mean by it, but I totally know what you mean. It really is. It's like your body's in a bit of a depressed state. It hasn't you know, especially when you've been doing it for years, where you haven't gotten the nutrients you need for years, and you
Yeah.
haven't gotten the movement you need for years. And,
Yeah.
you know, when you're doing something like, you know, packing for a move, something you don't do very often, those are, anytime you're doing something that you just don't do on a regular basis and your body's kind of in that depressed state, that's when, you know, all those little supporting muscles and all the little you know, all the joint health and, you know, all that kind of stuff really jumps out at you, because now you're moving your body kind of in a way it's not used to, and you really start to see how fatigued and depressed your body is.
Yeah.
And you ask it to do something new.
Yeah.
Yeah, that just not being there, it's a huge barrier out of the way. You know, I can look at this stuff I got to do, you know, and it's all physical stuff, and not have any concerns, like I said, about having the stamina to do a full day of it and get through it and do what I need to do.
Yeah.
It's a huge relief. So,
Because you know you can go get it done, man. I love it. So, you know, one of the biggest things like you're fearful of like was you know the workout, you know, the different variety of foods, right, that we were going to be introducing, right, and then just making sure that you got the results that you wanted, right. So when you reflect on all that stuff, you know, like where you started, what were some of the things like you feared about starting, you know, in relation to those things, and then where you are now, like do you how did you manage that fear and sticking to stay consistent with everything?
uh, I, yeah, um, yeah, it's hard to, you know, it's hard to remember exactly what all it was, but I mean, you know, like one thing with working out is just um, I think the main thing was just kind of never believing that I was the kind of person that would enjoy it, that it was just another task added to the list and another thing to feel bad, you know, bad about that I wasn't doing, or, you know, just another thing to force myself to do. Um, you know, I already had plenty of tasks on my list, you know, and all that kind of stuff. And it just, uh, it was a combination of that, of just kind of being convinced that like I'm never going to enjoy this, you know, this is not something I'm ever going to enjoy. I've never enjoyed it in the past.
Yeah.
um and it's always going to be this task. And you know what got me started this round away was just that hip acting up to the point where, like, you know, I couldn't even walk for five minutes outside without my hip just blowing up and hurting like hell, and you know, all that other kind of stuff. And so there's a little bit of a mix of, you know, coming to this too late. You know, like, you know, I'm coming at the time I was like coming around the corner to 40, and it's like, okay, you know, I've never worked out consistently in my first 40 years of life. I'm never going to get to the point where I'm going to do it. And just, you know,
Yeah.
talking yourself down like that. And you know, same with the food stuff, is like, you know, I've always eaten this way, this is what I've always done. I am a picky eater. I'm still a, you know, a fairly picky eater compared to most people. There's a lot of stuff out there I don't like. You know, and just uh, I think it was just that, you know, mindset of like, this is the way it's always been, this is the way it's always going to be. You know, and but being in that state where like I couldn't even go out and walk around, and you know, that hip was just, it scared the hell out of me, you know, because it's the same way. It's like, man, I'm 40 and I can barely walk 5 minutes, you know, that's not gonna work for me, you know. Like,
Yeah.
and I think that was just kind of, you know, one of those things where, you know, people talk about hitting rock bottom and being like, all right, well, I got nothing to lose at this point.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you know, but it scared the hell out of me, just the idea of like, you know, if this is where I'm at 40, what the hell am I going to be when I'm 60 and 70? And I'd really like to still be able to enjoy life in those years and
Yeah.
not stuck in a chair, you know, and unable to
Yeah.
go anywhere or do anything because I can't freaking move. So,
Yeah.
you know, I had that extra benefit of just that whole thing just like scared the hell out of me, you know. And it was
Yeah.
like, well, whether you think you can do this or not, you got to freaking do something.
You have to. Yeah.
Because obviously what you've been doing is put you in a really bad spot, you know?
Yeah. For positive perspective, man. So that's fucking crazy.
For me.
So,
Yep.
what do you see 20 years from now from your exercise and stuff like that?
Uh, you know, it's my big thing is like, like growing up, I grew up without a lot of money. We didn't have opportunities to like do much, go anywhere, see anything, and my big thing is just like I want to be able to have those years where I get Dalton grown up out of the house, taking care of himself. I shed that responsibility from my day to day, and I want to be young enough. I want to go travel. I want to go see shit. I want to go to different countries and just be solid and be able to move and walk and explore and do anything I want to do. And that um, I that's the big thing for me is like I don't ever want to become like bodybuilder big or anything like that. I don't see myself going that route of like, okay, let's jack these muscles as much as we can jack them. um but that said, I do I want to it's a mix of not only being physically able to go do all that stuff and do all that stuff, but the understanding that if you look, you add a layer of security to yourself if you're walking around looking solid, like
Yeah.
you know, I'm sure we'll look like tourists, but I don't want to like look like a tourist that's an easy target.
Within my strength, and I want to continue to foster this to continue to grow as an individual.
Oh yeah, for sure. And it's one of those catch 22s of like just maintaining where you're at. Like it's not really possible. I mean, that's the funny thing is like, you start to enjoy it, you enjoy and that's some of the things that it's just mind-boggling that are part of my mind now. Like I enjoy pushing myself. I enjoy seeing if I can get that extra 10 pounds on there. I enjoy thinking about especially the plates, like, okay, I'm up to 2 plates, I'm up to 3 plates, like
Yeah.
kind of measuring that progress in plates. And you really start to enjoy that. And you start to enjoy the sense of progress and all that kind of stuff. So honestly, like, it's really hard for me to imagine, where it'll go or where it'll be because it was impossible to imagine me even getting to this place, like I'm somewhere that I never imagined was possible. And so I haven't quite, I'm still like wrapping my head around that concept. And,
You,
I don't know enough to know, to imagine like what's coming up, but, things just pointed out like, when working out's not really part of your life, you look at people that, are working out and getting excited about this or that, and you kind of roll your eyes at them and you're like, oh, whatever, that's stupid.
yeah.
Uh, but now it's like, I catch a look of the vein popping on the forearms or the shoulders looking a little more solid. You start seeing all that and you're like, yeah, that's pretty cool.
Looks good.
Because you realize it's not just a vanity thing, but it's a sign of the accomplishment,
Yeah.
like you see other people doing it, you think it's always just a vanity thing, like, oh, they're just vain, they're this or that or whatnot. But when you can look at that and mentally know like how much work went into that and how much effort went into that and how much drive and how many times you pushed yourself to do it, even though you didn't want to do it and all that kind of stuff, you realize that those things become way more a symbol of accomplishment than just a matter of vanity. And
Yeah.
the same way with people who, get to that point where they're really super physically healthy, and looking good and got all the muscles popping. And, it's easy to look at that and just say, oh, genetics or the right family or just whatever, like
Yeah.
blah, whatever. You look at it and think, it's easier for you than it would be for me. And it's just something common we do as humans. We don't realize the effort and the work and the sacrifice until you actually do it yourself. And so, it's just it's funny now. Like I look at stuff and I'm like, yeah, that looks good, but really, it's just that pride of putting in the effort and putting in the time and putting in the work and all that kind of stuff. So,
Yeah.
um, and yeah, it just got to the point where it's like, shit, I gotta accept this pain.
Yeah.
But I just, it's mind boggling. I never thought I'd get to a place where I enjoy it as much as I enjoy it now. I never thought it was possible. It's mind boggling to be here. And see where it goes.
Hey, keep on getting it done, brother. Keep on getting it done, man.